There was a city so wealthy, so confident, so proud, that it believed heaven would never judge it. A city where sin walked the streets openly, where violence was entertainment, where cries for mercy were drowned by laughter. But one night, two strangers arrived. They did not come with armies. They did not come with warnings shouted in the streets. They came quietly, and before the sun would rise again, fire would fall from the sky. Cities would vanish from the earth. A woman would turn into salt for one fatal glance backward, and one family would flee into history. This is not a fairy tale. This is not mythology. This is the terrifying, tragic, and unforgettable story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot, his wife, and the night God closed the door of mercy. Sodom was not a poor city. It was not a broken city. It was prosperous. Caravans passed through its gates daily. Wine flowed freely. Food was abundant. Power sat comfortably in the hands of men who feared nothing. And that was the problem, because when people have everything, they often forget God. In Sodom, wickedness was not whispered, it was celebrated. The strong preyed on the weak. Men laid with men and women laid with their fellow women. But far from Sodom, a man named Abraham felt something shift. He did not live among them, but he knew the reputation of that land. He had relatives there. One of them was Lot. The Bible does not say God was confused. It says the outcry from the oppressed in Sodom was great. Just one quiet decision in heaven. I will go down and see. Two visitors were already on their way to Sodom. Before the angels reached Sodom, before Lot ever knew judgment was coming, Abraham was standing outside his tent. 3 men had come to him. After they ate, they turned and looked toward the valley of Sodom. Then God spoke. The outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great. Their sin is very grave. 2 of the men walked on. 1 remained. Abraham's heart tightened. Lot was down there. Abraham stepped forward, slowly, carefully. Will you destroy the righteous with the wicked? He asked. If there are 50 righteous in the city, God replied, I will spare the whole place. Abraham pressed on. 45? 40? 30? 20? Each time God answered the same. I will not destroy it. Abraham's voice lowered. 1 last time. What if there are only 10? Silence. Then mercy spoke. For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it. The conversation ended. The Lord turned away, but Abraham was relieved and hopeful because he just interceded for Lot. The sun was sinking when Lot took his seat at the gate of Sodom. The city gate was not just an entrance, it was where power sat. Elders judged cases there. Deals were made there. Decisions that shaped lives were spoken there. And Lot was there. Once he had walked with Abraham under open skies. Now he sat among the leaders of one of the most corrupt cities on earth. He told himself he was surviving. He told himself he was protecting his family. He told himself he had not become like them. But Sodom had a way of changing people slowly. 2 men appeared on the road as evening shadows stretched long across the ground. They looked like travelers, dust on their feet, calm in their eyes. Nothing about them screamed danger. Nothing about them demanded attention. But Lot noticed. His heart tightened. Strangers did not enter Sodom safely. Lot stood up quickly. He bowed low, too low for a man of his position. Please, my lords, he said urgently, come to my house, spend the night, wash your feet. It wasn't hospitality. It was fear. The men hesitated. No, they said, we will stay in the square. Lot's breath caught. The square at night was a death sentence. He insisted, he pleaded, he would not stop until they agreed. And so the strangers followed him home. Lot's wife watched silently as the men entered their house. The house was large, comfortable, built from the profits of a city God hated. She did not bow like Lot did. She did not tremble. Sodom had never frightened her the way it frightened Lot. She had learned how to belong. Lot prepared a meal quickly. Bread without yeast, water, a place to rest. He watched the door more than he watched his guests. The night was quiet, too quiet. Then it began. Footsteps, voices, laughter that carried cruelty in it. Men gathered outside the house, then more, then all of them, young and old, rich and poor, from every corner of the city. They beat on the door. "Where are the men who came to you tonight?" they shouted. "Bring them out to us, that we may lay down with them." Lot's blood ran cold. He stepped outside and closed the door behind him, alone, facing a city that had finally shown its true face. "Please, my brothers," he begged, "do not do this wicked thing." His voice shook. Then, in desperation so deep it still shocks the world, Lot offered his daughters instead. "You can have my 2 daughters. They are still virgins. Do with them whatever you please, but not this stranger's." The 2 young girls, unmarried, terrified inside the house. The crowd laughed. "This man came here as a foreigner," they snarled, "and now he wants to judge us?" They surged forward. Lot stumbled back. The door shook. Suddenly, hands grabbed Lot from behind. The strangers pulled him inside. The door slammed shut. In a moment that felt like lightning striking flesh, the men outside screamed. Blindness, instant, total. They clawed at the walls. They groped for the door. They collapsed in confusion and rage. Inside the house, the strangers spoke, and their voices were no longer ordinary. "Do you have anyone else here?" they asked. "Sons-in-law? Daughters? Anyone?" Lot stared at them, trembling. "We are about to destroy this place." The words landed like a hammer. "This city's cry has reached heaven. The Lord has sent us." Angels. Lot's legs nearly gave way. That night, Lot ran into the streets. He found the men promised to his daughters. "Get up," he shouted. "Get out of this place. God is about to destroy the city." They laughed. They thought he was joking. Fire does not feel real until it is falling. The night did not end. It stretched. Lot returned home breathless, his warning still echoing uselessly in his ears. The men who were to marry his daughters were gone, laughing somewhere in the darkness, unconcerned, alive for the last few hours of their lives. Inside the house, time pressed in on them. The strangers stood now, no longer resting, no longer waiting. "Get up," one of them said, not calmly, urgently. "Take your wife. Take your 2 daughters who are here. If you stay, you will be swept away." Lot looked around the room, the walls he had built, the wealth he had gathered, the life he had justified, and he hesitated. Seconds passed, seconds that could have killed them all. His wife lingered near the doorway to the inner rooms, her eyes drifting back, calculating what could still be taken. Her face was not afraid, it was conflicted. The daughters stood frozen, gripping each other. The angels did not wait anymore. They seized them, hands like iron closed around Lot, his wife, and his daughters, not gentle, not symbolic. They were dragged out, through the door, into the street, past homes that were still sleeping. Mercy pulled them where obedience had failed. Outside the city, the sky had changed. The air felt heavy, pressurized, wrong. The angels released them at the edge of the valley. "Run for your lives," one said. "Do not look back. Do not stop anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, or you will die. Lot stared toward the hills. They were far, too far. Panic rose. My lords, he pleaded, I cannot flee to the mountains. Disaster will overtake me. Even now, Lot negotiated with judgment. The angel's eyes locked onto him. There is a small city nearby, Lot continued quickly. Let me run there. It is small. Let my life be spared. A pause. Then Mercy spoke again. Very well, I will not overthrow that city. Run! And as the first hint of dawn broke the horizon, Lot ran. Behind them, Sodom was waking up. People stepped into the streets, confused by the strange stillness. The night's excess still clung to them. Doors opened, heads lifted toward the sky, and the sky answered. Fire fell, not like rain, like judgment. Flames mixed with burning sulfur tore through the air. Roofs exploded, walls collapsed, screams rose, sharp, sudden, and then silenced. The ground shook as if the earth itself rejected the cities. Sodom was erased. Gomorrah followed. Lot's daughters ran, sobbing, gasping for breath. Lot ran ahead, shouting. But his wife, she slowed. The roar behind them was unbearable. Heat, light, destruction swallowing everything she had known. Her home, her friends, her status, her past. She remembered all her jewelry and gold and silver. It was too much. How can she leave all that behind? And in one fatal moment, she looked back just once. Her body stiffened mid-step. Flesh hardened. Breath stopped. Life froze. Where a woman had stood a pillar of salt. Permanent, silent, facing the city she could not let go of. Lot never turned around. He could not afford to. The fire stopped falling, but the silence that followed was worse. Lot climbed higher into the hills until his legs failed him. Smoke still rose behind him, black and endless, where cities had once stood. The smell of sulfur clung to the air, sharp, choking, unforgettable. He did not look back. He could not. By the time night came again, Lot and his 2 daughters were alone in a cave carved into the rock. No city lights, no voices, no signs of life in the valley below, just darkness, just the echo of what had been lost. The daughters sat close together, knees pulled to their chests. They had watched everything disappear, their home, their future, their mother. The world they knew had been wiped away in a single morning. No husbands, no children, no people, only their father. Fear settled in their hearts, not the kind that screams, but the kind that whispers and grows. The whole earth has been destroyed, the older daughter said quietly. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were not. There is no one left. Lot said nothing. He sat with his back against the stone wall, staring into the dark. He was alive, spared by mercy, but hollowed out by everything he had escaped. Days passed. No one came, no smoke from distant fires, no travelers on the horizon, no proof that life still existed beyond the hills. The daughters began to believe what fear told them, if the world was empty. Then the future ended with them. The older daughter spoke again, this time with resolve hardened by desperation. Our family line will die, she said. There will be no children, no name, no tomorrow. The younger listened in silence. Then came a decision, not born of desire, but of panic, isolation, and a broken understanding of God's promise. They would act. That night, they gave their father wine. Lot drank deeply, too deeply, the weight of grief, the exhaustion, the loss. He fell into a heavy sleep, unaware, unthinking. What followed was not passion. It was tragedy, a desperate act made in darkness, driven by fear, not love. A moment Scripture records without approval, only consequence. The next night, it happened again, and Lot, righteous enough to be spared from fire, was too broken to perceive what was unfolding around him. In time, both daughters became pregnant. Life emerged from ashes, but it was complicated, burdened, marked by its origin. The sons were born. The first was named Moab, ancestor of the Moabites. The second, Ben-Ami, father of the Ammonites. Nations would rise from this cave, nations that would later stand in conflict with Israel, nations born not from promise, but from fear. Lot left the cave eventually, but he never returned to prominence, never led again, never stood at a gate again. He survived judgment, but his story faded into silence. The cities were gone, his wife was gone, his future was fractured, and the valley remained a scar on the earth. Dearest friend, know this. Sometimes the greatest danger in life isn't open rebellion, it's delayed obedience. Mercy can pull you out. Even when you hesitate, Lot survived because someone prayed for him. You may be standing today because someone stood in a gap for you. 2. Compromise keeps you alive, but weak Lot escaped fire, but lost influence, peace, and legacy. Not everything that doesn't kill you is good for you. 3. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Lot was warned and still hesitated. Obedience loses power when it comes too late. 4. Attachment to sin can freeze your future. Lot's wife didn't run forward, she held on backward. What you refuse to release can stop you permanently. If this story feels personal, it's because many of us are standing between what God is calling us to leave and what we're afraid to lose. If you feel the pull to move, to change, to let go, don't wait for fire to make the decision for you. Run while mercy is still calling your name. And if you're still standing today, remember this: someone prayed, someone cared. And when God put it in your heart to pray for someone, please do not hesitate, because you do not know what you are preventing from happening to them. Thank you for watching. Do well to check the channel for more stories and subscribe for more. Remain blessed.